Hey, hello, all those Marxists, Marxist-leninists out there in the world, and today I'm going to translate a lecture called the philosophy and the problem of verity in Marxism. Red University, Professor Popov. The lecture had been read the 3rd of October 2023, so last year. I'll skip the introduction. There's 41 minutes of introduction here, introductory part, and instead I'll read a small introduction that explains who this guy actually is. So this is Mikhail Vasilyevich Popov, or Mikhail Popov. He's a Soviet and Russian philosopher. He was born in 1945. He's pretty old. Like a real Soviet Marxist-Leninist. He's an economist, political and social activist, specialist in political economy, social philosophy and dialectical logic. Candidate of economic sciences in 1971. He got his degree, Doctor of Philosophy, the degree of 1987, Professor of the Department of Social Philosophy and Philosophy of History at the St. Petersburg State University until 1st of July 2021. So he retired a couple of years ago, 3 years ago. And he's been active for many years, for 30 years. One of the founders of the United Front of Workers of the Russian Soviet Federative Socialist Republic and the United Front of Workers in the USSR. He is a member of the Workers' Party of Russia since its establishment in 1993, co-chairman of the Ideological Commission of the Central Committee of the Workers' Party of Russia. President of the Workers' Academy Foundation from 1994 to 2023, and since 2023 Vice President of the Foundation, Editor-in-Chief, and since 2021 Deputy Editor-in-Chief of the Russian social-political newspaper Narodная Pravda, the People's Truth. He's got he's a full member of the Petrovskaya Academy of Sciences and Arts, so that's also a big thing. Okay, so this guy is basically a scientist, real Marxist-Leninist, big scientist, probably one of the, or maybe the biggest specialist in Hegel's logic, in materialistic understanding of Hegel's logic. He still gives lectures and, widely uses Hegel's categories in a materialist way, of course, since he's a Marxist-Leninist, to explain stuff. And he's really good. And he wrote a very good book, The Planned Resolution of Contradictions of Socialism as the First Stage of Communism, which is a great scientific book. It explains a lot how to get from socialism to communism properly, and avoid those mistakes that the Soviet Union made, which led to the Khrushchev's and team counter-revolution in around 1961. It happened, and he actually proves that, Mikhail Popov, this guy. Well, there's a lot to say. I'll just skip to the lecture. So this is him. He's basically our leader, but he's retired and pretty old. So his other people are gradually replacing him, as best as they can. So he's the vice president of the Workers' Academy Fund now. The president is Galko, Viktor Galko. He's a candidate of economic sciences. So anyways, so here he begins his lecture. I'll switch to Russian because it's better that way, trust me. This, artificial idiot cannot translate some specific terms and terminology and stuff. And I gotta also switch on the sound of the original video. Yeah. So it's called The Philosophy and Problem of Verity in Marxism. So the first question is, that we should ask is, what is philosophy? So first, people try to analyze this literally by words or by syllables. So they say phila means love, Sophia is wisdom. So love to wisdom. So we gathered here, people gathered here who love wisdom, and they're gonna do that. But this is a philological, linguistic definition. Actually, what does the philosophy study? Philosophy studies So philosophy studies the universal laws of society, nature, and thinking. What does it mean, universal laws? It means that these laws can be applied to anything. So the word in Russian is actually all common, sort of, or general. It's hard to translate. I won't, literally translated it means все means all, and общий means of all the society. This all societal sort of, or all societal and all things. So universal laws. Which means that not someone, somewhere, and somehow applies these laws, but in everything, applied to everything, can be these laws. Why is it so important to study the, universal laws? Because if specialists, come together, and here I can see that there are, people of all very different spheres of thought and knowledge. And we're not making lists here who is in which sphere of economy because of the division of labor. But so they could comprise one united society, uniform society, and move to a common one goal. For that, it's needed so that it's needed for them to know the general universal laws of nature, society, thinking. So that these universal laws of nature, not only scientists of nature would know, and the laws of society would be known not just by the scientists who study society, those specialists, but this universal things that exists, that is, would be known by everyone. That's needed. And in this case, we will have our society will move forward and develop, and vice versa. Now, after the 22nd Congress of the CPSU, we had this fall down, slide down when they adopted the new revisionist program, and people who worked in accord together in ministries, in the committee of prices, in the state planning, they simply fell apart piece by piece, in pieces. And why did that happen? Because they didn't have that link, which is linking thing, which is the universal. They didn't have. They didn't have that. And, you know, we shouldn't... this is inadmissible. We shouldn't, you know, let that happen. That's why study of philosophy is not something that just makes us pretty, but of course philosophy does make us makes any action or work beautiful. But it's this kind of thing that is absolutely necessary for the society to represent something united whole. That's the first thing. Universal laws. So philosophy studies universal laws of nature, society, and thinking. Some comrades, of course, heard that a teaching on the notion. Yeah, he means Hegel. I had to look this up. Doctrine of the notion. In Doctrine of the Notion, Hegel explains about what is the whole, what is the specific, and what is unique, or general, special, and particular. Look it up. Maybe it's not very accurate. So I will say that if we take the general with negation, then it'll turn into the particular. You're a human, for example. You're a human, right? A human. But right now you're a human wearing yellow clothing. Yellow clothes. This means you are particular. But despite you're wearing yellow clothes, your essence is not that you are wearing yellow clothes, but that you think about problems that currently Russia is interested in. And so I make the second negation. What does this do? It gets us back to the general. And at the same time, it makes you particular. And so you contain the general, special, and particular within you at the same time. It's not in parts, like we've got general, special, parts. In parts, like we got part of general, part of special, part of particular. No. Or singular. So instead of the united and live whole, we get, a dead body. It's not a living thing. When we take stuff, anything, as comprised of parts, there are no parts. That's what he means. To avoid the dead meat, the dead body, we shouldn't have that in our chain of thought. So you're a human, right? And if you're a human, you're a representative of the whole humanity. So he's joking. Head up. Don't sit like that with your head down. Heads up. Hold your head higher, because you're a representative of the whole humanity and the future of humanity. Compared to me, you're gonna live, and I'm gonna be in heaven, you know, as representative of non-scientific areas say, circles, of religious circles, teachings say. And this is very important. Philosophy. Now, philosophy studies universal. Universal. And we must see universal in everything. And if people will know the universal, they will have a universal language. And if they haven't got a universal language, they can translate from Russian into English, and then to Japanese, and then to Chinese. But the universal must be. This must be universal. Meaning that people must understand what is, general, what is particular, and what is singular. And use that freely. So he means master it, right? Be fluent in this. And in this philosophical approach, he means. You can do this study quite deep. You can make this study quite deep if you study the science of Hegel's science of logic. This work,
мне приходилось участвовать в издании этого труда.
I took part in editing and publishing this work.
Двухтомник издан.
2 volumes.
Логики под моей редакцией. И там я вот выбросил все предисловия, какие там писали.
I got rid of all the forewords that were written by people who probably get money for writing do that professionally, get money for writing forewords, because there were many, there was a lot of forewords there, quite blurry, unclear forewords, and one small Lenin's work, last Lenin's philosophical work, I put there as a foreword, which is called On the Meaning of Militant Materialism. I'll look up what the real name is. It's called On the Significance of Militant Materialism. The work is called, by V.I. Lenin. So I made this work of the foreword for Hegel's work, Science of Logic. So in this work, Lenin says that the one who won't be good at dialectics, dialectical logic, who won't study it, will not be able to withstand the pressure of reaction and lies.
Я могу, вас или поздравить, или, с прискорбием проинформировать, что мы
either congratulate you, or it's a sad news for you. I'm informing you that we
собой сейчас страну, которая не устояла.
Right now are a country who, as being a Soviet Union, could not withstand this pressure.
Союз не устоял перед натиском.
Of lies and reaction.
Do
you think in Soviet Union in the 50s they studied the science of Hegel's science of logic? Anyone studied that? Do you think? No one studied it. Why should we study it? All these laws, all these categories,
Если вы,
universal, particular, and singular. Why do we need that? We don't.
Будете наблюдать картину изучения.
So if you
Картина была
look
такой.
at the picture of the study, was as this.
Ее хорошо очень.
I remember this picture very well.
Просто потому что я вот переходил
I know it very well because
математического факультета
was transferred from the faculty of mathematics to mathematic-mechanical faculty.
Математико-механического, экономический, который был
from faculty of mathematical mechanics to a faculty to economical faculty of economics, that was separate.
Отдельно. А отдельно есть философский факультет.
And there was a separate philosophical faculty of philosophy.
А отдельно
and
есть еще
another separate thing was, as a separate thing, there was the scientific socialism
выбросили и теперь назвали
that they got rid of and named it scientific communism.
Вы не найдете ни у Маркса, ни у Энгельса.
You won't find not in Marx's nor in Engels's works,
ни у Ленина такой
nor in
ерунды,
Engels'
как
work,
научный
such silliness as such rubbish as scientific communism.
коммунизм. Но по иронии судьбы, вот я получил
the irony is that I got my doctor's degree
по теории научного коммунизма.
In the theory of scientific communism.
Можно сказать, последний причем доктор.
And I was the last doctor of sciences within this field.
Наук по этой науке. Но доктор философских наук.
Doctor of philosophy.
Поскольку я занимался
I dealt with the contradictions of development of socialism as the first stage of communism.
Фаза коммунизма. Вот, значит,
so that's the first thing that we must understand, that philosophy studies the universal laws of movement, of nature, society, and thinking. Because everything is in motion, it's just my remark. So, it's when you study anything, you study motion, right? Now, which professor says which kinds of motion do we know? Of movement, of motion. The first motion is motion of mechanical motion, right? Mechanical movement. What is characteristic of it? To be in one point, of space and time, and not to be at the same time.
Иногда мне приходится
at the same time. Sometimes I have to
еду на такси.
When I get a cab, a taxi.
Товарищ меня спрашивает, водитель,
the comrade driver asks me,
чем занимаетесь? Да вот философия.
What do you do? Well, I say philosophy was what I do.
А что ты философия?
What's philosophy?
Говорю, сейчас едете,
well,
вот в эту точку проезжаете.
You're going right now driving. Are you actually driving through this point, past this point?
Он говорит, да.
He says, well, yeah.
Значит, вы в этой точке находитесь.
Which means you are in this point. You are in this point.
Говорит, да.
He says, yes.
Вы не находитесь, вы не едете.
But if you are in this point, you're not going. You're not driving past it, right?
Он говорит, как?
And he says,
находитесь в этой
how's
точке,
that?
значит, вы не едете.
Well, if you are in this point, you're not going. You're not driving past it, right?
Хорошо, еще раз.
Very well.
Вы
Again.
эту точку проезжаете? Проезжаете. Раз вы ее проезжаете.
Are you
Значит,
driving
вы не
past this point? Yes. If you're driving past this point, you're not in it, right?
Потому что если вы в ней
You're not
только
there.
находитесь, то вы ее не
Because if you're just there, just in this point only, you're not driving past it. So there's no motion.
проезжаете. Да.
He says, well,
Сколько? Я,
yeah.
говорит, 12 лет, говорит, езжу, и никогда не...
For 12 years. I've been driving for 12 years now and never thought of such a thing, he says.
Голову такой не приходило. Есть даже по этому поводу такие вот, можно сказать, смешные анекдоты.
Some witty jokes about this.
Как приехал такой философ вроде меня.
Like when a philosopher like myself came to a village. I was born in a village, by the way.
В селе Староклинское Первомайского района Тамбовской области.
In Tambov
приехал философ в деревню.
So a philosopher comes to a village and a grandpa, you know, an old man meets him and asks him, the philosopher, who are you? And the philosopher says, well, I'm a philosopher. So what do you do? And the philosopher says, I do dialectics. And what is dialectics? Well, old man.
Как вы бы сказали, что это такое?
What
is... Он говорит, нет, но мы же грамотные.
Why are you asking these kind of questions? And the old man says, well, wait a second, we're literate people here.
Люди. Мы вот,
we,
у нас
you know,
есть
we got
школа, есть,
school,
закончили,
we got
у нас
people
дети
who
наших
graduated
институтов обучались.
School. Some of our children graduated from university, from the higher education institutions, and
А ты как грамотный человек,
you,
нам это
as a literate person, should explain to us what it is.
Ну хорошо, дед, у вас есть?
Well, very well, old man. Have you got Gramps? Well, very well, Gramps. Have you got a banya, a sauna, Russian sauna in the village?
Да, у нас есть баня.
Grandpa says, yeah, we got banya.
Ну хорошо, вот идем мы с тобой в баню. Ты грязный?
Okay, let's suppose you and I go to the banya. You are, dirty. You got dirt all over you, and I'm clean. So who should wash himself? Well, Gramps says, there's nothing to think about. I'm dirty, so I should wash myself. Wash off the dirt. The philosopher says, nah, you're dirty anyway. Why do you need to wash? You don't have to wash. I'm clean. I have to support my cleanliness. Get it, Gramps. Grandpa says, wow, interesting science you got there, philosophy. Very powerful. No, Gramps, that's not all the science. Now suppose we go the second time to the banya to wash ourselves. You are dirty, I am clean. Who should wash himself? Grandpa says, well, I already get it. I understand your philosophy now, your dialectics. You're clean. You need to support your cleanliness to stay clean. And I'm dirty anyway, so... What the hell are you talking about, Gramps? The philosopher says. Look at yourself. You're so dirty. You need to wash all the dirt off. And why do I need to wash myself? I'm clean anyway. You get it, Grandpa? Gramps says, sure, I get it. So this is antithesis. But that's not all. Gramps. For the third time we go to the banya. Who should wash? So the grandpa says, I don't understand a thing. And the philosopher says, well, that's what dialectics is. Synthesis. So the synthesis. So the first one was thesis, the second one was antithesis, and the third one was synthesis. I don't understand a thing. So, what is the essence of dialectics? What is the most important thing about dialectics? Is that it looks at everything in motion, analyzes everything in motion. And the motion is comprised of, is made by resolving of contradictions. Resolving of contradictions gives you motion. And if it's a contradiction, then it is expressed in two contradictory statements. Contradictory. And if you look at something third, then the third statement, then it should include, it includes both first and second statements. And in this universal, within this universal, we've got one and the other as its moments. Look up Hegel, moments. Moment means something you've got. Like you look, for example, for instance, you look at me. Do I live or do I not? Am I alive or not? I mean, I am dying, right? But of course I can say that everyone in this room is dying. So question is who will do that earlier and who will do that later. But we can put this in a different way. If we live, then we are not dying. You're not dying. You won't start telling us that I came to this lecture and started dying here because of your boring lecture. No, you won't say that, right? So, but are you equal to yourself? And are you equal to yourself? Yes or no? Yes and no is the answer. That comrade is a sly one. He knows philosophy. Because you are equal and are not equal to yourself. If you're only equal to yourself, then you are stuck. Then things are over for you. There is no motion, right? So you breathed in once and then you don't need to breathe in, because if you breathe in second time, you won't be equal to yourself anymore, right? Because you won't be the same, you won't be equal to yourself as you were when you did when you breathed in air the first time. And you don't have to exhale too. Inhale and exhale, all right? You don't have to exhale too if you're only equal to yourself. Because you have already exhaled today. That's it, that's enough. Finished. Everything's finished. That's why I'm getting on your nerves, because you're the youngest one here. So that's why, say, mathematics excludes, doesn't allow for, does not look at the contradictions. Maths. And physics, accordingly, does not that. And chemistry. But actually, all the development, all the motion, the higher type of motion, because development of a person is an object, but what does the social sciences study? The society, and society is individuals individuals who
которые соединены.
are
Не
connected,
просто отдельные индивиды.
not just separate individuals.
Вот отдельно взятые индивиды, это
Taken separately.
не
If you
человечество.
take them separately, that's not humanity, right?
Это просто
That's not
единицы,
society.
масса.
They're just units, a mass of people,
Куча людей.
bunch of people, right?
Толпа.
A crowd.
Вот толпа — это отдельно взятые индивиды.
Crowd represents separately taken individuals.
Индивиды, производящие его,
But those individuals who produce within a society
то есть это те, которые
are those
воспроизводят
who
себя,
reproduce themselves.
они воспроизводят
They
все, что
reproduce
необходимо для их жизни,
what they need for their living,
сказать, материальные блага,
material,
жилье над своей головой,
goods, accommodations,
знания воспроизводят,
knowledge,
и воспроизводят
and
человечество.
reproduce the humanity.
Идет рождение новых людей,
You people are
воспитание.
born and brought up, and
Вот вы сейчас
you
занимаетесь
currently
своим обучением.
are teaching yourself, right? You dealing with with the problem of teaching yourself.
Да.
Are you doing that right now? Yes, I am.
Вот те, кто сюда
Yes,
пришел,
you
он
are,
же
because
пришел сюда,
those people who came here,
да,
they came here to
заниматься.
teach themselves. It's a Russian word. It's заниматься. It means get knowledge by yourself. Not get educated by someone, but teach oneself. Right? You came here to teach yourself.
То есть себя обучать, правильно?
Right.
А мы кто такие, как
And who
преподаватели?
are
мы
we
много.
as teachers?
Здесь публика.
We are just auxiliary staff here.
Если вы будете
We just help you.
заниматься, мы
So
вам
if
готовы
you
помочь.
are ready to study, we can help you.
Больше, так сказать, а что вы еще
No
хотите?
more,
Кто за вас стоит, никто не будет заниматься.
because no one will do that for you.
Вы понимаете, правильно?
You understand
Только
that,
вы.
right?
Поэтому,
Only you.
Поэтому
So,
я вот снимаю так сказать, из себя ответственность. Как
So I lay off the responsibility of myself
с представителей философского направления,
as a representative of philosophy
который у нас здесь будет, и из других преподавателей. Я сказать,
and from other teachers.
не подготовились.
Because if you are not prepared, you haven't prepared.
И, так сказать, вот скажут, вот мы учились в Красном университете, ничему не
And then
научились.
you'll say, oh, we studied at the Red University and we couldn't, study anything
Или ся.
on ourselves. We haven't taught ourselves anything.
Ся, так вы себя ничему не научили.
You
А
haven't
у вас
taught
была
yourself
возможность
anything, but you
воспользоваться
had the
там
possibility to
знаниями
use the
преподавателей,
knowledge
формами,
of the teachers, of the forms
которые есть для
that
проверки.
are
Правильно вы
there
понимаете?
to test you whether you understand things right.
Неправильно. Консультациями и так далее.
You had consultations, you could consult, and so on.
Экзаменами. Экзамен
You had
для чего
exams.
нужен? Он нам нужен или вам нужен?
So, what is the exam needed for? Is it for us or for you?
Вы же учитесь.
Because you are teaching yourselves
Ну, так он вам нужен.
you need it
Убедиться, что вы
to
вот
make sure
разобрались.
that you're actually have figured things out here.
Поэтому
what
мы
they
не
are.
просим, так сказать,
And
не
so
надо
we
такие трактаты.
Ask
Напишите
you, please don't write long works. Just write a brief answer,
коротко. И будет нам сразу ясно,
and
разобрались или нет.
we will understand at once whether you've understood the topic or not, the issue or not.
Хочу сказать, что, в общем, занимаются люди,
And
просто в Красный университет
in
идут
Red
для
University,
того, чтобы самим
people
заниматься,
go to the Red University to teach themselves
взять
and
консультацию
get
по тем
consultations
вопросам, недостаточно своих
on the
знаний.
issues where they do not have enough their own knowledge. That's it.
Это дело наживное, так что все это можно получить в порядке подготовки.
And this is something you can get skilled in, that you can receive if you prepare, if you to the tests. you can get this knowledge.
Значит, философия изучает разные
So,
формы
philosophy
движения.
studies various forms of motion.
движение.
And
В
motion,
чем состоит?
what does it consist of? What is it?
Какие бывают формы движения?
What
Первая
kinds of motion exists?
форма движения
exist?
называется изменение.
First form of motion is called change.
Вот изменяется.
Things
Вот вы же
change.
изменяетесь все время.
You are changing all
Вы
the
пока
time,
вот
right?
тут сидели, очень сильно изменились.
While we sat here, you changed quite a lot. You've changed quite a
Не
lot.
проголодались?
Are you hungry?
Нет, ну ничего,
No.
ничего, если будем так
Well,
долго
good.
сидеть, так и проголодаетесь.
But if you will sit any longer, you will get hungry too.
Изменение
Right?
идет. Да?
So there's changes. Changes are going
Что
on.
значит изменение?
What does it
Это
mean?
значит,
Changes. It means
выражается каким образом?
how is it expressed to change?
Значит, вы равны самому себе и
Are you
самому
equal
себе
to yourself,
не равны.
or
Если
are you not equal
вы
to
только
yourself?
равны, это не изменение.
If you're just equal, that's not change.
Это у вас уже, ну, памятник, вы из себя сделали,
You're like a statue
рукотворный. И все, вот так вот застыли,
and just sit still
все. Это
like
никакое
a
не
statue.
изменение.
That's not a
Поэтому
change.
изменение
That's not
означает,
change.
что вы равны самому
Change
себе,
means
в том,
that
что
you
это
are
вы.
equal to yourself because that's you, right?
Но вы же изменяетесь,
But
значит,
you change.
это не только вы.
So
а
that's not just you,
становитесь
and you
другим, правильно?
become the other you.
Вот
You become something different, right?
вы получаете
You
первую
get
форму изменения.
the first form of change.
Изменение
The
в
change
таком виде.
in this
Теперь в этом изменении
Like this.
разные моменты
in
есть.
this form. Now this
Ничто переходит
change has different moments. We've got nothing, which transitions to being.
Бытие это называется
That's
возникновение.
called
А
appearing. Let me look this up. Yeah, it's called becoming. Becoming. I had to actually pull out a book by Hegel. That's the book the professor was talking about, right? Hegel's Science of Logic, Russian edition. So okay, so when nothing moves into being, this is called not becoming. No, it's not becoming. This is called I'm not sure how to translate that. There's being, and it consists of something that appears and something that goes away, basically. When it appears, it's a movement, it's a motion from being, from nothing to being. And when it disappears, it moves from, or goes away, or whatever the term is in Hegel's logic. It's motion, vice versa, from being to nothing. So there's motion from being to nothing and from nothing to being, and both have its own term, and these two terms, its own name, and these two things, that's what the becoming consists of in Hegel's logic.
Бытие переходит в ничто, это
So being
прихождение.
being goes to nothing. I can't even find this word in the dictionary. Anyways, so that's what the becoming consists of. 2 moments of becoming. Look it up. Anyways, so
Приходит, не приходит, а приходит, приходящее. А
not even in
оно
the
наполняется, поэтому сознание
So-
находится в процессе возникновения.
So that's how your knowledge appears. That's how it becomes.
Поэтому сознание находится в процессе возникновения. Возникновение и прихождения.
In the process of appearing and disappearing.
Есть другая форма
put it this way.
движения, когда у вас
So
есть
there's another
нечто,
form of
и это
motion.
нечто изменяется.
When you've got something and this something changes.
То есть, а что значит нечто изменяется? Оно равно самому
What does it mean when something changes? Is it equal to itself
себе, если оно изменяется.
if it changes?
Но если мы о нем говорим, оно изменяется.
If we're speaking about it changes.
Дом изменяется.
A house
машина
changes, a car changes,
изменяется. Воздух изменяется.
the air changes, everything changes. If it changes, is it equal to itself? Yeah. Yes, it is. No, it isn't. Hold on. Hold on. First, let's agree that there are people who insist that it is equal if it changes. Don't you agree? Do you agree with that? But if it changes, so it changes. That's where you should put the stress on. That's what you should put the stress on. It changes. You're talking about it. You're saying it is not equal. And if it is not equal, then we have nothing to talk about. There is no change. Because only what is equal to itself can change. Can change. You change only because you're the same person. But if first you, then me, then it's not you who is changing and not me who is changing. You are changing only because you are equal to yourself. So you're equal to yourself, right? Although you protest against it. And you are not equal to yourself. Okay, I'll agree. You're not equal. Just don't forget that you are equal to yourself too. Why are these things? Why are these two contradictory things there? Because the contradictions through which the development of change goes can only be expressed in two contradictory statements, by two contradictory statements. We are not accustomed to that because we are accustomed to mathematics, to physics, technical stuff, and they teach us that something exists, but I was shocked when I was in school and we were at a factory. There was the thing called practice. We studied the practical side of the of things.
536 почтовый ящик. Там, где делают бомбосбрасыватели.
Quite a secret factory where they do the bomb throwers for planes.
И тогда это было видно там изнутри. И тогда я увидел, что никогда не бывает ничего там равного, потому что или вот столько...
That nothing equal
микрон перебрали, или столько микрон не добрали, когда изготавливают какие-то детали.
Because when they make certain parts, it's always measured in microns, in very small, units.
Нету никогда, всегда с какой-то точностью, всегда.
There is always this certain there is always some kind of accuracy with which stuff is measured.
Все приближенное, ничего там нет такого, что было.
There is always difference, right? There is never something that is absolutely equal to a certain measure.
Абсолютное равенство, знаете? Или, может быть, будет абсолютное равенство всех.
Do you know that is anything? You know anything that is absolutely equal to something?
Всех людей. Вот такие все. Вот так.
Can we have absolute equality of all people?
Представьте, какой ужас будет. Все как.
Can you think of it? Think what horror. How horrible it would be.
Я буду тут сидеть вот всех.
Everyone in this room will be like me, for instance. Lots of me.
Или все как вы.
Or like you. That'll be better, of course, because it's more optimistic picture.
Но все равно это какая-то странная
картина. It's a weird, bizarre picture anyways.
Так, раз, значит, изменяется, значит, равен.
If things change, if something changes, then it is equal to itself and not equal to itself.
Называется изменяющееся нечто.
This is called the changing something.
Этом изменяющемся нечто,
And in this changing something, as you easily
сможете обнаружить, если
can
будете читать
find
науку
if you
логики.
will read when you will read Hegel's Science of Logic,
Том 1,
if you will read
учение об
Volume
истине,
1,
есть
the teaching on being.
равенство с собой и неравенство с собой.
This is equality to itself and not equality
Вот
to itself.
два. Вот равенство с собой называется в себе бытие. Вы
Something that the equality to itself is called being in itself.
в себе или не в себе?
Are you in yourself or not? Are you not in yourself
Сейчас.
right now?
Ну, в себе, значит, равны самому себе. А когда
Which means you're equal to yourself. Yeah, there's also the play upon words there, because in Russian, not be in yourself means be distressed, be off the dial, and be in yourself means you're okay.
вам будет не по себе, это значит, что-то уже с вами плохо. Это значит, вы не равны самому себе.
So he jokes on that. You're not equal about that. You're not equal to yourself, right?
Вот такой веселый,
You're so
спокойный, а тут вдруг
calm
занервничали, стали что-то непонятное
funny and
говорить.
started you getting and then you start getting nervous,
Доказывать, что вы это не
talking
вы,
gibberish,
и
and
так
it
далее.
turns out that you are
Вот
not
это
you, and
называется
so
не в
on.
себе.
So this
То есть
is
это
called
бытие для иного.
not in yourself. So this is being for other. Being for other. Let me look this up. Yeah. Being for another. For something other.
На философскую. Не иное, потому что какое иное?
Not
Вот рядом с вами
different.
сидит, и я по отношению
Because different is sitting near you, and I'm different
Вам
in
иное.
relation
вы
to you. And
себе
you
имеете
are
равенство с собой,
have the equality with yourself within you,
неравенство
and
с
not
собой.
equality
Равенство с
within
собой
yourself.
называется ваше в себе бытие.
So your equality to yourself is called your being in itself.
И это
Your
тоже есть
being
в
in
языке. Говорят,
And it also exists
Вам не по
in the
себе?
language.
вы в себе?
And again, he jokes.
Или на вас кто-то кричит.
This is Russian play upon words.
Что вы не выучили там вот это вот что-то?
Really
А вы
hard to
скажете, вы в
translate.
себе вообще?
So
То
I
есть вы
will.
равны себе или
It's a
нет?
joke.
Если равны, так не надо кричать. А если не равны,
So if you're equal to yourself, you shouldn't be screaming. You shouldn't be nervous. If you're not equal to yourself, so you're not within yourself.
тогда не занимайтесь этим делом. И этим преподаванием вы не должны заниматься.
teach
такие
them.
люди. Вот второе изменение. А третье
So
изменение?
that's the second change. And the third change
Слышали,
is,
есть еще и какое-нибудь
have you
изменение?
heard
Знаете, нет?
any kind of
А
change?
я знаю. Ты знаете, просто
Do
вы
you know it? You know,
не
but you
акцентируете этому
don't think about it. You don't pay attention to that.
внимание. Вот развитие. Слышали такое?
Development. Have you heard this word? So
А что значит
development,
развитие? Вот что,
what does it
вы
mean?
развиваетесь сейчас или нет?
Are you developing right now or not?
Или деградируете?
Or degrading?
Вот, а что это такое?
I am.
А?
So what is development?
Что это такое?
Huh? What is that?
Что, сейчас, вы сейчас в переходе где-то, да? Застряли?
Are you stuck or are developing right now?
Куда вы переходите-то?
Where he says I'm transitioning to something. Transitioning to where?
Куда?
Well,
От чего?
from
Вон
From what?
к тому товарищу переходите?
to that guy over there. You are moving.
Очками меняться сейчас
Are
будете?
you
что ли?
going switch your glasses or
Не
something?
понял, что делаете?
I don't get it. So what are you doing exactly?
Ну так это что? Это же какое-то движение, да?
But that's
ну какое?
that's
Ну какое
that is
движение?
some
Вы
kind of
переходите
motion,
куда?
right? But what motion is
Вы
this?
переходите?
You're moving or you're transitioning to what?
А?
Positive motion, he says.
Какое?
What motion? Positive motion.
Позитивное. А что?
Positive
Непонятно.
motion.
То есть если вы сейчас упадете, это позитивное движение?
So if you fall on the floor right now, will this be a positive motion?
По-моему, это
it seems,
Самое
I think
спокойное положение у вас будет.
you will have that's the calmest position you will have. Be the most calm position.
Часто вы можете вот со стула можно упасть, с
You can drop to the floor from the chair,
пола уже невозможно
but
упасть.
you cannot fall down from the floor.
Это позитивное движение.
That's a positive
Я
motion,
считаю, вот
I
если вы
think,
сейчас
I
ляжете,
believe.
то
If you lie
это
down,
вам гарантирует
this will
полный
guarantee
покой.
you complete calm.
А?
But what if we fall through the floor? If the floor collapses, I will be one floor down. Turn out.
А тогда вы этажом ниже будет у вас спокой.
Then you will have calm, a floor below.
Ведь,
From the standpoint of mechanical movement,
для примера, для покойника
for a dead man,
с какого этажа вы его будете брать.
like for a dead body, it is indifferent. It doesn't matter from which floor you're gonna drop it, right? The dead body.
Потому что
Because
он изменяется вообще-то, покойник.
does the dead body change?
Тоже изменяется. Но вы же
It
понимаете,
changes too. You understand?
что там
that,
долго нельзя держать. Надо
you cannot just put a dead body and hold it in one place for too long. You have to
похоронить вовремя. И
bury it in
будет
time, and it'll change anyways.
А потом, когда достают,
And
там
then
вот
when they get it out,
череп и кости.
you only see skull and bones.
Так что
So
некоторые хотят ускорить, это называется кремация.
some people want to facilitate that process. This is called cremation, right?
Ну, вы не это имеете в виду?
Is that what you mean?
Под изменение.
Is that what you mean when you say change? So, okay, we've got a category of development.
Это вот до того народ,
You know
можно
all
сказать,
this.
запутали.
The problem is that they to such extent mixed up people's minds,
Что он такие простые вещи.
they perplexed people, they entangled people, so that such simple things,
Ну, научно важные. Он
scientifically
их, так сказать, не
important,
держит на контроле.
people or a person does not control does not hold, pay attention to.
Это развитие, это движение низшего к высшему.
Development. What's development? Development is the motion of the low to the high,
Простого к сложному.
of the simple to the
Если я
complex.
скажу движение от низшего
And if I say this is a motion from the low
к
to
высшему, тогда,
the
допустим,
high,
вот
then,
вроде низшее, значит,
so if I put this
сейчас только
from to,
низшее не понимаете в смысле науки, а просто вы ниже меня сидите, а я выше. Тут
so speaking, for instance, not scientifically speaking, you are below me and I'm higher than you,
сижу, от низшего к
sitting higher than
высшему.
you.
А вы где?
And that's what is moving from the low or the lower to the higher, to the
Вот
high.
идите сейчас от него ко мне, а
So if you move from him to me,
потом от высшего к низшему пойдете. Это будет
and then you go back, and that's when you go from the low to the high, and from the high to the low back.
понижение. Но на самом деле речь об одном человеке. Человек
But we're speaking about one
совершает
person.
движение,
A
изменение.
person changes and makes and moves.
Развитие это изменение
So
низшего к
development
высшему. Не
is
от низшего к
change,
высшему.
not from the low to the high, but of the low
К высшему.
to the high,
Переход к высшему.
a transition to the high.
Вот это называется развитие.
That's called development. So not the top, but the high. So that's motion. Of the low to the high, not from the low to the high.
Вы за развитие
And vice
выступаете
versa.
или за деградацию?
So, do you stand for development or do you stand for degradation?
Хорошо.
For development?
Видите, вот
well,
мы уже,
good.
смотрите, вот мы уже не с пустыми головами уйдем отсюда.
Now, we won't leave with our heads empty. We won't leave this room with our heads empty anymore.
То есть мы знаем уже
We know
сколько
that
видов движения.
how
Механическое
many
движение.
types of motion do we know now? A mechanical motion, right?
Вот. Теперь мы знаем
Now we
движение.
know
Значит, вот, что такое развитие, что такое изменение.
we know what development is, what change is.
И
We
что такое
know
становление.
what
Становление,
becoming is.
изменение
Becoming
и
is
развитие.
change.
Мало.
So we know now we know what is becoming, what is change, and what is development.
Я считаю, для первого занятия,
I think for a first lesson this is quite enough.
для занятий по диалектике уже знать три такие
First
категории.
lesson in dialectics.
Становление.
We know
Вы
three
сейчас в
categories.
становлении же находитесь, как
You
человек.
are currently in becoming, right? As a person, you become.
Гражданин
As a
России,
citizen of Russia,
как
as a
сознательный гражданин.
conscious person,
А как развитой? В становлении находится. Это
you
становление.
are in
Но
becoming.
это требует от
This
вас
is
же
becoming.
изменения.
But it requires change from you, right?
Да?
Certain change.
Изменяетесь. Но,
So you change.
наверное, вы изменяться будете не в
You're
сторону
probably gonna change
деградации,
not
а в-
towards degradation,
наверх будете
but
двигаться. То есть
up. You're gonna
движение
be
низшего
moving
к
up,
высшему. То есть вы
moving of the low to the high
развиваетесь.
So
То
you
есть
are developing
по отношению к одному и тому же
in
человеку.
relation
К
to
любому
the
здесь
same person, to any person who's present here.
присутствующим можно потребить
We can
все
use
три
all three
понятия, и
categories,
они все
all
имеют
three concepts,
смысл.
and all three have a certain sense.
Но люди, которые диалектику
But
не
people who
изучают,
do
они
not
это даже им
study
в голову
dialectics,
не
they
приходит.
don't even think about it.
И поэтому им
And so for that reason it is hard for
трудно себя
them
понять,
to
потому что
understand themselves. Because
ну как бы есть и одна наука, есть другая наука,
they think that there's one science, there's another science,
третья, вот они соберутся,
third
и у них нет
science,
общего
and then
языка.
they get together, and they have nothing in common, nothing universal.
Тогда
And don't
остается
have the
поговорить.
universal language, so the only thing they have to do is drink together.
За развитие всех наук.
The only thing that is left, let's drink for the development of all sciences. Cheers.
Пожалуйста.
So what's your question, please?
Становление, изменение, развитие.
Okay, so becoming, the change, and the development.
Становление – это движение ничто к бытию.
So he repeats that.
Это прихождение и возникновение.
So that's disappearing and appearing.
Это два момента становления.
Two moments of becoming. Those are two moments of becoming. I'm translating these two improperly. Look it up in Hegel.
Становление – это моменты
Two
становления.
moments that becoming consists of.
Это не движение, это тоже движение.
That's motion too,
Но это
becoming.
не изменение.
But that's not change.
Называется специфическое название этого изменения – становление.
Specific name for this change is becoming.
Равно и не равно, это к чему?
Равно
You were speaking about equal and not equal. What's about that?
и не равно – это
Equal and
означает,
not equal
тут,
means
когда равно или не равно, это вы когда берете любой
Is
предмет
when
и
you
объект.
take any object,
Он равен вам по себе.
it is equal to itself
и не равен
and
самому
not equal
себе.
to itself at the
Ну
same
вот
time.
вы сейчас сидите на этом самом,
Like for
на
instance, you sit
красном
on
кресле.
that red armchair, right?
Вы представьте себе, что еще пройдет 100 лет.
And imagine that another 100 years will pass.
Ну, как вы думаете, будет это кресло здесь?
Do you think this armchair will be here?
Нет.
Nope.
Но оно же к этому идет или не идет?
But does it move towards that or not?
Каждый раз, когда на него кто-нибудь
Every
садится,
time
оно идет к
when
этому.
someone sits on it and gets seated on this chair, it goes towards that.
Но через 100 лет,
But in 100
не будет
years,
свидетелей, вас не будет иметь.
There will be no
Меня не будет.
witnesses,
Тут уже мы с вами
not
равны.
me nor you.
Равно и не равно,
We
это
won't exist.
относится
Equal and not
К
equal
одному и тому же.
relates to the same thing,
и к становлению, и к изменению,
both in becoming and to the change,
и к
Конечно, совершенно правильно.
exactly.
Равно и неравно относится
Equal and not equal
и к становлению, и к изменению, к
relates
развитию.
both to becoming and to change and to development.
Когда мы говорим о
But when we
становлении, это
speak
движение
about
от ничто к
becoming,
бытию.
it's a movement from nothing to being.
Не было и стало. Или
Stuff didn't exist and then it became existing.
было и не стало. Бытие от ничто. А если это изменение,
And if
от
this
нечто к иному,
change moves from nothing to different,
любое нечто к чему-то движется.
any nothing moves to
Правильно?
something,
Вот
right?
и от нечто к иному. А
So from nothing to different,
когда мы
to
говорим,
the different.
употребляем развитие,
And we,
то это
when we
обязательно движение.
use the term development, then it is motion. Then it has to be, it's certainly motion.
Не любое изменение, а только
Not
такое,
any change, but
которое
only
означает
such
движение
change,
низшего к
a kind of change that means the movement of the low to the high,
простого к сложному.
of the
Если вы
simple to
изучаете
the complex.
вот
If you
так вот
study,
движение у
let's
нас,
say,
будем считать, что когда вы
when
пришли
you
сюда, то вы
came
находитесь
here,
в становлении.
you are in becoming,
То есть вы сели и
You
слушаете,
sat
что они
down
тут нам мне наговорят.
and listen to what people are saying.
Вот они что-то наговорили,
So they said some
и
things,
вы уже
and
в памяти имеете то, чего
in your memory you have something
у вас в памяти не было. Это
which you didn't have before.
становление вы уже прошли.
That's becoming. You've passed.
Все с ним. Такое,
You
все
have
отлично.
passed this becoming.
Теперь
That's it.
изменения.
Very well.
Ну,
Then the
изменились
changes
некоторые
come.
представления у
Some
вас от
understanding, your
Ну,
understanding
как
on
описывать
how to describe
развитие. Изменились,
development has changed, right? It has,
правильно?
right?
Вот это
So-
тоже, так сказать, это изменение. А
This is also change,
это изменение значит движение
but change means motion of
нечто к иному.
something
Но
to
вы-то
different.
иной, но вы-то остаетесь,
You are different, but you stay,
хоть вы и стали совсем иным. Вот вы скажете,
although you have become different.
я все выучу и все подготовлюсь, вы
I'll teach, I'll study everything and I will prepare everything,
же будете все равно иной человек, но человек
You are
это
going
же
to be a
самый
different
важный.
person,
Фамилия, имя, отчество,
but
все
also the same person. I mean, your name and surname are the same,
останутся. Так что это изменение. И,
so
наконец,
that's change.
развитие, когда мы
And then
следим за тем,
development,
что
when we
простое становится движение низшего
can
к
see that the motion of the low to the
высшему,
high
простого к сложному.
and of the simple to complex goes on.
А если вы изменяетесь,
And
что
if you
меньше и
change-
меньше знаете, или там сидите водку пьете, и
And if you change in such a way that you know less and less, or just sit there and drink vodka,
меньше и меньше вы
you know
видите,
less and
или у
less
вас
and
язык
less
уже, так сказать,
stuff you see, and your tongue starts to,
начинает заплетаться. Это тоже
to
изменение.
twist, and you cannot speak anymore.
Не-не.
That's
Это
change
не
too,
подпадает под категорию развития,
but that's not development.
под категорию деградации.
That's degradation.
Обратное движение.
Opposing movement.
У вас вопрос, пожалуйста.
You got a question,
Так,
please.
Первое – это становление, это
Okay, then they ask questions, and that's not really interesting. So I'll just finish translating here. I think it's enough for today, and it's quite hard because of Hegel's categories. Mr. Popov always uses, Comrade Popov always uses. So the next one, I think I'll translate some of Galko economics and economic theory of Marxism. Okay, bye for now. Bye bye.